In my restless dreams, I see that town.
There's no other game genre out there that makes me have proper emotions in video games as the horror genre, and today I want to discuss the genre in general with you. I love horror games. It haven't always been like this, but as I got older I started to like them more and more. There's just something to them that makes me want to keep on playing them. One of my absolutely favorite games of all times is Silent Hill 2, and there's so many different reasons to it. And to this day, I have struggled to find another horror game that scratches the same itch that Silent Hill 2 did give me when I played it the first time. In this video, I want to focus on what in my opinion makes a horror game good, and in my opinion bad. Remember, all I'm saying here is just my own opinions, and I'm in no way downplaying other games. Video games are in some shape or form art, and art is subjective. What is my favorite game could be someone else's most hated game. I do suffer from mental illness, mostly depression that I'm learning to overcome, and I think that also plays some kind of role in why I do enjoy these horror games. Or should I say, the psychological horror that is in Silent Hill 2 especially, since that game works different from the other games. The first time you play it, you feel for James, you understand James' intentions of going to Silent Hill. He's probably not mad, he's just confused and is wondering himself what is really going on. Why did I get a letter from my supposed dead wife? Is the things you're seeing really there? Did that corpse-looking thing just walk away in the fog? And why is this radio so goddamn annoying? This game lures you, and I mean really lures you in. You feel for James in the beginning. You really feel like he shouldn't be suffering as much as he is until... Silent Hill 2 is a genius in so many ways, and I'm not going to talk too much about the game itself because this game has been analyzed and talked about so damn much on YouTube, on different forums, and it's understandable why so many people talk about this game. It's just a good game. What I want to talk about is a design philosophy on horror games, and special ones I like and why I like them. My favorite horror games, just to name a few, is the Silent Hill games. Resident Evil, especially the remake of the second game and the first game. Tormented Souls that came out last year, and Dead Space. All these games share something in common, and I think you have already guessed what it is. Yeah, that's right. They're all in third person or have fixed camera, and that's important for some reasons, and I'm going to try to explain as to why that is. I have always been more fond of third-person games in general, be it adventure games, action games, or hell, even some shooters are just more fun in my opinion in third person. The reason to that is that the more you can see, the more intense something becomes. The more information I can take in about the world around me, and hell, even the more I can see those monsters running in close behind me, it makes me feel more stressful, fragile compared to if I would play any game in first person. Even though I really enjoyed Resident Evil 7 as an example, I yet to play Village, but it's there on the list to play eventually. There was still something in the game that felt off. I got scared a couple of times, absolutely, but I felt that the less I saw of something, the less scared I actually got. Yak worked great as an enemy in Resident Evil 7, because he constantly kept on grabbing you to turn your character around to face him, showing you as a player that he was indeed a threat. But him molded as an enemy wasn't really scaring me in the same way. Sure, I could see them spawning, I could run past them, meaning that the only thing I could see in front of me was the empty room I was in. Sure, I got attacked, the HUD would flash or give me some kind of indication I got hit while Ethan screamed in pain of the hit, but that's it. I never felt like it was a proper threat because of the limit of what I could see, and this is probably where a lot of people would disagree with me and say that first person makes it more scarier. But I want to disagree to that completely. There's a problem for me when it comes to first person, and this goes for every kind of genre I try out. Even though I do enjoy playing games like CSGO, Valorant, or hell even Battlefield and Call of Duty and similar from time to time, I'd rather just play something else where I get a better visual of my surroundings, because the more I see, the more stressed I can become while laying around. Take the elevator chase in Silent Hill 2 as an example. The first time that happened to me, I got so anxious and so stressed out, and would you look at that? Pyramid Head is here as well. If we would switch it out to something that is in first person instead, personally I feel that a lot of the anxiety and stress would just go away. Sure, the first times I would be scared, but the more I would replay it, the less I would actually feel scared of the same scene. Look, what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of the atmosphere and the stress that is induced by actively seeing that something is after you is much stronger if it's in a third-person game or the camera is fixed. Another YouTuber, the Actman, talked about this in his CyberPunk video, and the more I think about it, the more it actually does make sense. There's just a specific part, and I'm gonna cut it out, and I'm gonna show you here on the screen. The link to the video will be in the description, so definitely check it out as well.
I think a third-person view helps you connect with the character because you can see them. Think about it. General Shepard, Revan, Arthur Morgan, Cloud, Aloy, the hero, Cole Phelps, Nico Bellic, the Chosen Undead, Link. We see all these characters interact with the world and people from afar, yet we still feel like we're in their shoes.
Look, I get it. People do enjoy this from time to time. I do as well if done in a clever way instead of having... Let's talk about this, because at the core, I think FNAF is a brilliant game. Just that it went on for too long with this kind of playstyle. Sure, the new game just came out, which looks interesting and more of my style if I would ever play something like this. But the older games, I personally don't find them interesting enough to keep on playing. I do understand that most of the people are in it for the lore, but that's a topic for another day and I'm probably not gonna touch that. Jump scares in general are just a poor man's attempt at making something scary. Absolutely, there's some clever ones out there that I actually think are legit scary, but the reason behind it is that they happen in such unexpected times that they feel refreshing, if that makes sense. Like the one in BioShock, for instance, when you walk into the office, you pick up an item, there's smoke covering everything on the screen, and when we turn around, a guy is standing there ready to attack. Those are pretty clever. It's nothing being pushed into your face, there's some kind of build-up to it happening. And even though it was really scary the first time, it was a scare I can accept instead of the FNAF jump scares. Sure, there are audio cues in the first game that at least tells you that it is about to happen, but after a while they just become so watered out, and just the fact that the game just focuses around those kind of scares only, it's just so boring. I mean, if this is your jam, sure, be my guest. I just find it extremely cheap to slam up a face on the screen, make some noise, and then call it a horror game. There's also a game that I've been watching so many videos about, so many analytic videos about, and I really hoped I will like it, but 3 hours in, I had to give up because my god, what is this mess? Don't hate me for this, please. I know this game got a huge following, and I know there's so many people out there that absolutely love this game. Cry of Fear. I'm sorry to say this, but... okay, sure, this game seemed interesting, and hell, even for today's standard, it really looks good. In my opinion, at least. But why is everything in this game a scare? Please send help! There was some parts of this game that made me want to keep on pushing on, because when the apartment complex started and it started to twist around and look all rusty and bloody, and oh my god, I almost felt at home. And
I see that town.
now, don't get me wrong, I think Cry of Fear got a good idea. Just for me, it was executed extremely poorly, with the enemies that outran you too easily or ran around corners too fast. I don't know, it felt like the game had a problem with enemy balance on how some of the enemies should act. Since I couldn't get myself to play through the game myself, I had to watch a video on what the game was supposed to be about. And I hate the fact that I couldn't play it through properly myself, because I really do like the idea of what the game was supposed to be about. When I actually tried playing the game, I had this icky feeling constantly, that icky, anxious feeling all the time, which is good. A horror game should set a good atmosphere that makes you feel hopeless and alone and fragile. Which also brings me to... if there's something horror games really into set, then it is a good mood and a good atmosphere. I don't know how many times I have played through Silent Hill 2, and every time I play through it, I just get that feeling that I want to stop playing whenever I get to the prison. There's something with the prison that just doesn't feel right. It's so hard to explain. I just get really anxious walking around down here, and just the fact that the cell blocks have constant sounds coming from there, like there's some invisible monsters walking around, just doesn't make it any better. Horror games are great when it comes to setting that mood that other games have a tough time doing. Sure, like, the first time walking into Anno London Dark Souls was a really special feeling, absolutely, but after I've been there once, it wasn't anything special anymore. Or the first time I walked into Goron City in Breath of the Wild, I was met with this really cool hub area of the entire city with Gorons going around with their daily lives. But after I had seen it once, it wasn't special anymore. Compare this to the prison of Silent Hill, or the first part of Dead Space when you just got your gun, or the basement in Tormented Souls. Or hell, the freighter ship Resident Evil 7 was also a really well-designed place when it came to the atmosphere. The only bad thing about it was the entire section, in my opinion, was too short. Horror games are great at setting the mood and atmosphere of what the game is supposed to be, and I feel other games in other genres have problems with this. Either the world is too open with too little things to do, or the world is too cramped with too much things going on around you. But in horror games, the design is just there for you to feel scared, to feel hopeless, and to feel alone. There's one main area I want to talk about here, where I get a feeling, like a weird itch. It's a gloomy aura over me. It's just a game and it isn't real, but the atmosphere makes it feel real. I can't explain it, and I talked about this in the beginning of this section, but every time I go down into the prison in Silent Hill 2, no matter how many times I play through it, I get the feeling of dread. I get the feeling that I don't want to be here. I get the feeling that I don't want to play anymore. And that's great. When a horror game inflicts that feeling on you, you feel rewarded when you actually pass that section of the game. Even if it doesn't give you any new fun items or a new weapon to play with, it's a personal reward that you got through something you felt bad about, the feeling that you just went through some kind of hell and you're still alive. Oh, I really hope this makes sense. I also want to add in one more thing horror games does great, and that is adding what I want to call fake hours. Now, okay, let me try to explain this concept to you. I'm not sure if this is the proper word for it, but this is what I personally feel, okay? Because I swear to God, this happens with every horror game I play. Resident Evil especially does an extremely good job with this. For some reason, now this could just be a personal thing, but the games somehow keep on telling me, you're close to the end, when I'm not even 25% done with the game. I don't know why this is a thing, but Resident Evil games especially are so good at this. Every time I play through a Resident Evil game, I go through one area and I'm always like, okay, cool, I'm done with this. Now I'm leaving this area and I've been here for what feels like forever, and there's more. This also goes hand in hand with what I've been talking about, where games make you feel like I don't want to be in specific areas, where I just feel a constant dread of being somewhere just to get that feeling of hope and then being thrown into a completely other section of the game, and oh my god, how long are these games? This could also be the general idea of Resident Evil, because some of these games are just crazy when it comes to levels in general, like Resident Evil 2 Remake. Alright, cool. I'm wandering around in the RCPD, cool. Alright, cool. Now there's some kind of underground lab area. Okay, cool. Now I'm back in the PD. Alright, cool. Now I'm in the sewers? What the fuck? What in the god? There's a bigger underground lab here? Okay, cool. I also want to add in a little bit here. Me, personally, I also like when games that are not supposed to be horror do have some kind of horror elements in them. I like Bloodborne and Zelda Majora's Mask. Those are two good examples that I could come up with right now. Both of the games are at its core supposed to be action-adventure games, but Bloodborne can be really spooky sometimes if you ask me. And then we have the overall depressing aura that is Majora's Mask in general. Oh my god, I love that game. Maybe one day I will come back and talk more about horror in video games and why I think it's a good thing to add, because it affects so much when it comes to the games in general. I understand horror games isn't something for everyone, since some of them are pretty fucking spooky to say the least. But I at least think everyone should try to play some kind of horror game to understand the genius idea of the atmosphere these kind of games set up. If you want to try any game out, I 100% recommend Silent Hill 2, and I personally think that is a game that everyone should play through at least once to understand what psychological horror really is. I'm not really a huge fan of watching playthroughs of games, and I don't want to recommend that when it comes to Silent Hill at least. I think part of the experience is to actually experience the horrors yourself. And I hope that some of you that are watching at least try any of these games out. I like horror games, and I hope they like me back. Thanks for watching.